Okay, so this is going to be the last review video, unless I get some requests from other people. But this was also missed quite frequently on the last quiz, and so I wanted to make sure that I went in and constructed a video for it. So what we're going to do is we're going to evaluate the inverse of a rational function at a point. So let f of x equal x plus 3 over x plus 7, and then f inverse of -1, we want to find out what f inverse of -1 is. Okay, so what we want to know or we want to get is that with an inverse, if f of x equals y, then f inverse of y will end up equaling x. Basically, that's the idea that we can switch x and y, that our domain and our range become, they switch places with the inverse. Okay, so if I kind of like plug in what I'm looking for, I want to know, right, okay, f inverse of -1. So that's going to be my y value right here. So what I want to know is x if f inverse of, or excuse me, if f of x equals -1. All right, so notice f inverse, it's in the input place for f inverse, and over here with f of x is now in the output. So all we need to do now is basically just plug that in. So x plus 3 over x plus 7, right, is going to then equal -1. So we're going to solve this equation. That's going to give me then that x plus 3 is going to equal -1 times x plus 7. This will then tell me that x plus 3 is going to equal -x minus 7. Okay. And now I'm just going to do some algebra. 2x, so we'll add x to both sides, plus x to plus x. So that gives me 2x plus 3 equals -7. And then we'll subtract 3 from both sides. That gives me 2x equals -10. And so x, then we'll divide it by 2, both sides. And that gives me that x equals -5. Okay, so f of -5 will equal -1. And I'm going to go in and I'm just going to check that to make sure that for -5 is not a restriction. So if I plug in -5 into f of x, I'm not going to end up with 0 in the denominator, and I don't, right? Because only if x equals -7 do I have a problem. So I can have this, f of -5 equals -1. This means f of -1, f inverse of -1 will equal -5. And that's it. That solves our problem. And there we go. There's a quick hitter.